mom-and-pop diners, scenic American beauty, roadside attractions, and motor court motels were all part of the experience when, as the song says, you wound your way from Chicago to LA, getting your kicks on the more than 2,000 miles of Route 66. (2,448 miles to be exact), starting in Chicago, Illinois, and officially ending at the intersections of Lincoln and Olympic Boulevards in Santa Monica, California, where the famous route met the Pacific Coast Highway. Just over a mile of that distance spanned here, over what is now known as the old Chain of Rocks Bridge, where from 1936 to 1965, thousands of cars every day traveled across the Mississippi River from Madison, Illinois to St. Louis, Missouri. Named to the National Register of Historic Places in 2006, today it's part of a region-wide system of bike and walking trails and still possesses its unique 22 to 30 degree bend right at its midpoint. Dubbed the Mother Road by author John Steinbeck in his epic 1939 novel Grapes of Wrath, because it nurtured and carried desperate Dust Bowl refugees westward toward California in search of a better life. After World War II, the road became iconic in a different way. A joyful symbol of family road trips, American freedom, and roadside neon culture. That's the Route 66 I remember as a boy, when my family took its grand adventure west to see the Grand Canyon. And along the way, we saw many of the cities of the famous song: Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Texas, Gallup, New Mexico, and Flagstaff, Arizona. Want to take a trip yourself? Then join our team of history lovers to explore a trip in time to the route's historic origins, see some of the roadside attractions and motor court accommodations in our neck of the woods, and witness the end of the road. It's all here in this episode of Who Else Loves History?
April 30th, 1926. History is made at the Colonial Hotel in Springfield, Missouri, when Route 66 receives its iconic numeric designation. Getting to that number had not been easy. Before the meeting, planners mapping out the new U.S. South Federal Highway system intended to give the Grand Cross-Country Highway a prestigious round number 60. But Governor William J. Fields of Kentucky vehemently protested. He wanted that number for a highway going through his state. So the federal planners offered number 62, but organizers rejected that outright, believing it sounded like a second-rate road. So Cyrus Avery from the Oklahoma Department of Highways, B.H. Pete Meyer from the Missouri State Highway Commission, and Springfield businessman John T. Woodruff were now huddled at the hotel looking over available numbers. Suddenly, the three noticed that 66 was unclaimed. According to Avery, they immediately fell in love with the rhythmic, catchy dual numbers and dashed off a telegram from the hotel to federal officials in Washington, D.C., who accepted the request.
The official birthday of Route 66 is November 11, 1926, when Secretary of Agriculture William M. Jardine formally approved the designation of the number. But no matter which date you prefer for the route's official beginning, it's happy 100th birthday this year to Route 66. The route's origins lie in the establishment of America's first federal highway system back in the 1920s, and its actual path owes its existence to an Oklahoma businessman and highway commissioner, history maker Cyrus Avery. By the time World War I ended, America's love affair with the car had already begun, and as the decade of the 1920s approached, only growing. But America's roads were not keeping up, most of them gravel and dirt and fit only for horse and buggy. America's individual states began to act, with each forming an official highway organization to manage construction. But the federal government was not yet in the highway construction business, instead only providing funds to states for them to manage while building roads within their borders. As a result, America's roads were a hodgepodge of good, adequate, and simply horrible, right at the time that truck traffic began to have a major impact on interstate commerce. And then, something happened to change the equation. The U.S. Army conducted the 1919 Transcontinental Motor Convoy. The Army wanted to test how well motorized transport and troops could handle long-distance emergency moves across rough American terrain, so it sent 80 motorized vehicles on a 3,251-mile cross-country trip along the path of the Lincoln Highway from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco. The trip took a grueling 62 days, resulted in over 230 accidents, countless mired vehicles, and the destruction of 88 local bridges and culverts that simply collapsed under the weight of the trucks. The event clearly demonstrated that federal standards and a federal plan for state-run construction had to be added to federal money. So Congress passed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1921, and in 1924, the American Association of Highway Officials proposed a federal system of interstate roads numerically designated under a unified scheme to eliminate what was the current chaos of auto trails, whose names and navigational signage were anything but consistent. Into this new 1920s approach stepped Cyrus Avery, an Oklahoma businessman who joined the Oklahoma State Highway Commission in 1923. He had moved to Oklahoma with his wife Essie in 1897 after graduating from college in Missouri. Starting out as an insurance agent, he branched into real estate, the oil industry, and agriculture, and then shortly after World War I, opened a motor lodge outside Tulsa. Realizing good roads would equal more prosperity for his business and Tulsa as a whole, he joined the Oklahoma Good Roads Association, began pushing for statewide road improvements, became president of the Associated Highway Associations of America, and then, as chairman of the Tulsa County Commission, oversaw massive road improvements in his community. In 1923, he was appointed to the Oklahoma State Highway Commission, and in 1925, Agriculture Secretary Howard M. Gore appointed him to the Joint Board of Interstate Highways that was to designate the new federal highways and mark them. And though he didn't know it at the time, that appointment would make Cyrus Avery a father. The new highway system would be a combination of current roads and new roads connecting them, and business and civic groups across the country lobbied the board hard to get local thoroughfares chosen as U.S. highways, knowing that increased traffic meant increased commerce. And no one knew that better than Cyrus Avery. One of the routes requested by Congress was a road running from Virginia Beach, Virginia to Los Angeles, California. Avery knew what getting that highway to go through Oklahoma would mean to his state, so he used his position and persuasion to successfully argue that to avoid the high peaks of the Rocky Mountains, the road should turn south through his hometown of Tulsa, and then Oklahoma City, continue west across the Texas Panhandle, New Mexico, and Arizona, and on to Southern California. His suggestion that this highway should go east from Springfield to St. Louis and then Chicago, Illinois, as commerce naturally continued in that direction, was also adopted. A separate highway would connect Springfield to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Route 66 was born. But that's not the only reason Cyrus Avery is known as the father of Route 66. His efforts didn't stop with just the birth of the road. He nurtured it and helped it grow. In 1927, Avery pushed for the creation of the U.S. Highway 66 Association to promote paving the highway and develop a massive public relations campaign to popularize the road and its travel opportunities. Avery's efforts over the next 3 decades would catapult Route 66 to its status as the most celebrated highway in the world, the place to discover roadside America. Avery died on July 2, 1963. In 1997, the National Historic Route 66 Federation established the Cyrus Avery Award. In 2004, the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, renamed the 11th Street Bridge, which carried US 66 over the Arkansas River, the Cyrus Avery Route 66 Memorial Bridge. And in 2012, artist Robert Summers unveiled East Meets West, a sculpture in his honor, placed in Cyrus Avery Centennial Plaza at Southwest Boulevard at Riverside Drive in Tulsa.
Alignments of the road would change often over the years. At the beginning, it just connected small towns one to the other. But over time, by 1938, the entire section was paved and designated US 66. Illinois was the first of the 8 states it passes through to have segments fully paved. And it's in Illinois that we'll begin our tour of some of the roadside attractions in our neck of the woods, as producer Aaron Mermelstein shares the story of a couple of mothers of the Mother Road.
Route 66 began in Chicago in 1926. It ended in Santa Monica, California in 1985, when the last stretch of 66 was officially decertified. It's been romanticized and made legend and called the Mother Road. The Mother Road. But it ain't what it used to be. It's full of cracks and patches. But still, this is the Mother Road that gave birth to the phrase roadside attractions. But around here, Interstate 55 replaced the old Mother Road a long time ago. At the Raymond, Illinois exit, about an hour from the arch, what was Old 66 itself, travelers can find the Our Lady of the Highways Shrine. The sign still calls it a Route 66 roadside attraction. The plaque under the statue asks, "Mary, loving Mother of Jesus, protect us on the highway." A prayer for those on the Mother Road and all highways for all time. They say that traffic was heavy on 66 when the shrine was dedicated back in 1959. Total cost, including the statue imported from Italy, $900. Money raised by kids in the area. Back in 59, on 66, the land of the shrine was donated by the Martin family. That family still maintains it. That's their house right behind the shrine. Inside the little shelter, you can get a card with a picture of the shrine, the Hail Mary printed on the back. The cards are next to a map of Route 66, where you can still get your kicks or licks. A statue of the Mother of Jesus next to the old Mother Road. If you head south about 25 miles on the interstate or on the 2-lane, you'll end up in Mount Olive, Illinois. The old Mother Road is marked here, and you'll see other signs too. Signs to a different kind of mother. While the Virgin Mary is often called the Mother of the Church, Mother Jones was once called the most dangerous woman in America. This is the Union Miners Cemetery. The Iron Gate calls it the resting place of good Union people. On the Mother Road. Mary Harris Jones, Mother Jones, was considered a mother to millions in the labor movement. She's been called a real, live, honest-to-Pete anarchist, campaigning for working wages for working men so that mothers could stay home with their children. And when she died in 1930, at 100 years old, she asked to be buried next to her boys in the Union Miners Cemetery on the old Mother Road. Why did you guys stop by here?
It's Mother Jones.
So? Did you know who Mother Jones was? Yeah?
She's a Union hero, obviously, yeah.
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 The Shrine of Our Lady of the Highways at Raymond, Illinois. The Mother Jones Monument at Mount Olive. Roadside attractions along Old Route 66. The Mother Road.
While you were exploring the Mother Road in Illinois, we traveled south into St. Louis, past the Gateway Arch, which you would have seen under construction when driving the route in the middle 1960s, then headed south through city neighborhoods eventually to get to Chippewa Street so we could arrive at one of the most iconic St. Louis locations of the route, Ted Drew's Frozen Custard. Still dishing out creamy frozen treats through its walk-up windows, just as they have since its opening in 1941, Ted Drew's is just one of thousands of mom-and-pop businesses Americans experience as they vacationed along the highway, because Route 66 traveled straight through the big cities and small towns that dotted its route. The experiences that you could enjoy in the small towns and big cities along the route actually inspired a hit TV series named Route 66 that ran Friday nights on CBS from October 7, 1960 to March 20, 1964. Starring Martin Milner and George Maharis, and in its final season Glenn Corbett, the series followed the young men experiencing adventures all across America. Its title reflected the spirit of adventure represented by the road rather than where the episodes of the series actually took place. While each of the series' 116 episodes was filmed on location, only a few were set on Route 66. Of course, whether you were two young men looking for adventure or a family enjoying the summer vacation of your dreams, you had to stop and sleep somewhere. And all along Route 66, small hotels and motels sprang up to handle the demand. Many of them were known as motor courts, such as the one we're driving up to now, the Wayside Motel, that still operates just outside St. Louis City on Watson Road in St. Louis County. Built in 1940 with the original name Wayside Auto Court, most of you have probably never heard of it before, but you may well have heard about its across-the-street neighbor that no longer stands, the famous Court Motel. While the area is now a subdivision that you probably wouldn't even notice unless you were looking for it, back in 1941 when it opened, you would have definitely noticed the Court because it looks strikingly different from anything around it. For a bit of the story of this famous Route 66 roadside attraction, we turn to producers Shelley Graham and Bill Bowl for this excerpt from their 2004 documentary, Built for Speed, the Court Motel. Filmed in the 4x3 television format of the day, it would fill a TV screen just like an episode of Route 66. So we invite you to experience it the same way. You've just gotten up off the sofa to change the channel after watching an episode of the series and come across this documentary in progress.
Really, right from the get-go, from 1926 on, Route 66 was, of course, a commercial road. It was a road for people to sell things on. It was a road of merchants and retailers renting you a room for the night, or a plate of food, or a tank of gas, or a spare tire, a curio. So because of that, you had people who had to be a little bit of Merlin and a little bit of P.T. Barnum. You had to have a little huckster, and you had to have some gimmicks. You had to be able to distinguish your business, yourself, from the next guy or gal down the road. And people became very good at that.
St. Louis, by far the largest city along the route, was no different. 1 decade after the designation of 66 down Watson Road through St. Louis County, the landscape was already ubiquitous, with businesses catering to the interstate traffic. Every year, a few more entered the fray. John Carr, a former Philadelphian with experience in the hotel industry, planned to build a motel just southwest of the city limits. In 1940, he purchased 29 residential lots in the undeveloped Marlborough Manors subdivision facing Watson Road. His business would be named the Coral Court, and it would offer visitors an uncommon experience even by Route 66 standards: luxury motel accommodation.
In those days, the motor court, and this was really a motor court rather than a motel, usually consisted of very poorly constructed cabins that were usually frame with no artistic merit whatsoever, built for the cheapest amount of money possible. And here they spent a large amount of money and went to a great deal of trouble to use good materials. So it would have stood head and shoulders above any other motor court in the area, really in the whole Midwest. For the Coral Court to have garages built right next to the unit was really a quite luxurious feature for the time. Most people would not have had that experience in their own homes. And it was a way of celebrating the car and automobile travel, which was what the Coral Court was all about.
But that wasn't enough to guarantee business. To distinguish the Coral Court from its competition, Carr wanted it to be outstanding. His motor court would be ultra-modern, styled for the future. Luckily, there was already a consensus on what the future would look like. Its name was Streamline Moderne.
With modern airspeed styling, which has real economy and efficiency.
I think the Coral Court was a good example of that streamlined modern style that came out of the 1930s and really went up into the early 1950s as a statement about modernity in the United States, and also the streamline effect of it was supposed to convey a message about speed and the modern technology that made the speed of modern life possible. It seemed to relate to automobiles and so many other products that were streamlined. Keep in mind, too, that this was the period of the rise of the industrial designer.
Designs in straight, delicate lines. Designs in graceful curves. Designs of strength without bulk. Beauty of function as well as beauty of form.
So even though it was a static building, it looked like it was moving because of the racing lines on it and the curves. And that was one of the characteristics of that style. Well, what could be a more perfect style than a building that's designed to appeal to a roadside audience that's actually traveling past it at a pretty high rate of speed? In that way, it was a perfect representative of that celebration of American life that was happening in the late 30s and 40s.
As an architectural style, the Streamline Moderne originated in the mid-30s as a hybrid of Art Deco and the Americanized version of Bauhaus, known as the International Style. In 1940, the year John Carr bought the property for his motel, The style had its formal introduction to the public at the New York World's Fair, now in its second year of operation. Money seemed to be no object to Mr. Carr, whose lavish attention to detail went from his insistence on mature pin oaks for a landscaped forest down to the individualized tile designs in each bathroom.
It's almost like you're driving past a different world. It's like you're driving past something like a Copacabana type place, Florida types, Key West type setting, intermidst those trees, because around it, there's nothing like it. It's like right there's this like Xanadu in the middle of, industry.
Kind of like a miniature Las Vegas or some, attitude, it was kind of neat. It was like a little forest. There were so many trees and so many shrubs that were there. It was kind of an oasis just outside of St. Louis.
The buildings were great.
Yeah.
It was like walking around a little park.
It kind of had like a park-like atmosphere because there was a lot of woods in it, and the trails that led from one of the buildings to the other kind of shot through.
And it was so peaceful and such an escape. You'd go back in the back, you had no idea that there was a busy highway running 100 yards from you.
The glass block was unique. The terrazzo on the floors was really unique. The beautiful sweeping lines and those glass bricks. And it was so green and pretty. I don't know if they were true stainless steel or if they were just aluminum, but the polished garage doors were really beautiful. The arched ways on the inside. And, of course, the tile work that you found in the bathroom. All those things, spoke to a certain kind of visual kind of like rhythm in the place. It was really quite beautiful.
The folks who came there during the summer had no interest whatsoever in the history or the background or the Art Deco or anything of artistic value to Coral Court. They came because it was clean, it was inexpensive, it was well maintained, and it was consistent.
That place, you never saw a gum wrapper or a pack of cigarettes laying in the driveway. And I mean at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 in the afternoon. I don't care when you went there. And you never saw personnel picking it up or cleaning it or cutting the grass. But it was done, obviously.
The grounds were spotless. They had a full staff to maintain the rooms. They had a full staff to maintain the grounds. The people who did it came back year after year. They knew their job backwards and forwards.
He was even the landscaping and everything was real meticulous. I agreed. He was very nice. Power rotary motors at the for the Zoysia. You couldn't cut the grass with a regular lawnmower, and you did not let any grass clippings. John would not have grass clippings on his Zoysia.
He just loved taking care of it. It was everything that he had dreamed of. It's somewhere along the line, this was his dream, and it had come true. And I think he could have spent every day there.
Yeah. The original plans called for 10 two-unit structures and a larger administrative building, but Carr was relentless about expansion. Within 5 years, 23 additional two-unit structures were built with a slight variation in the original design. The newer buildings were called Mae West units because of an anatomical resemblance to the actress. In 1953, 3 two-story buildings were added to the back of the property for a total of 77 units. Around the same time, the original Art Deco sign was replaced with a more contemporary neon-lit sign of cantilevered design.
It probably followed the Holiday Inn sign, which the architecture critic of the New York Times said was the granddaddy of them all. And, of course, she didn't mean that in a flattering way, but the huge mast sign with different sized panels hanging off of the central pylon so that it was kind of asymmetrical, I think was popularized by the Holiday Inn.
In the early 60s, a stylish pool was installed.
But that was one of the neater pools, so there were not a whole lot of pools that were lit up, in that pool. They lighted up at night. It was lit up really. It was kind of a kidney shape, if I remember. It wasn't exactly just like a little round or square pool. It was a neat shape to it and everything. folks would kind of laugh behind their hands. Oh, you're the lifeguard at the motel. Yes, as a matter of fact, it does have a pool. Most people didn't even know the pool even existed. A lot of people tell me Coral Court's never had a pool.
I know when you tell people that you're a lifeguard at Court Courts, it's almost like a joke. They go, "Pool? They had a pool?" Every time I told someone that I worked at Coral Court, I'd always get this smile, and they'd say, "Exactly what do you do at Coral Court?" You know.
And he had a very nice pool in the back, very good-sized pool, and a lot of room back there, but there was no one ever there but us, because being young and naive didn't know what everybody was doing in the motel.
And we'll find out what they were doing right after this word from our sponsors.
Now, from Hunt's, Steakhouse Catsup. Made for meat. A hearty new steakhouse taste. Made for meat. New Steakhouse Catsup. It's one of the 4 big tomato catsups from Hunt's. There's regular, hickory, pizza, and new Steakhouse Catsup. Made for meat.
1, 2, 3, ready or not, here I come!
Dirt hides and elbows, dirt hides and knees, but dirt can't hide from intensified Tide.
Ready or not, dirt, here comes new intensified Tide.
Intensified? So what?
So it's the strongest Tide in detergent history. Dirt can't hide from intensified Tide.
Pants are clean, shirts clean. Amazing. Even the inside socks are clean, heel to toe. Knees, elbows, everything's cleaner looking. Can't hide from intensified Tide.
Dirt can't hide from intensified Tide.
Strongest Tide in detergent history.
I guess people call it a hot sheet joint because the sheets were changed constantly. I hope they were changed constantly.
We went down to Coral Court for our wedding night. And I knew what the Coral Court's reputation was and all that, but I figured, well, at least I'll be legal if they raid the place. Didn't stay all night. Nobody stayed all night. Everybody else was coming and going. I thought we'd come and go also.
The Coral Courts had a reputation, deserved or undeserved, but it was a classy place that you could go for if you were looking for a place to take a girl and not be discovered. That was the place.
You start to wonder, too, if even its reputation was greater than its reality.
We're pulling in, and we take out the cameras. And the minute we took out the cameras, it was like a police raid. All these cars are peeling out. People are crouching down and driving out of the court, just roaring out. And I thought, wow, everything you heard about the Coral Court is really happening at the Coral Court.
The place was busy many times in the daytime. I know, being a nosy person, I drove by in the daytime going somewhere else. I'd look to see if I saw any cars in there. And what was funny is you would see many a day between 12 and 1 o'clock, the traffic jam again. This is at noon to 1 p.m. It was the office people and their secretaries and what have you having a different type of lunch, so to speak.
I had a relative who was carrying on a rather torrid affair with someone, and they were both still married to other people at the time. And I remember my mother driving by the Coral Court and murmuring something under her breath, well, that's where so-and-so shacked up. Well, I didn't know what shacking up meant, but I knew that if it made Mom mad, it had to be cool. And then you looked at the building, and you know, the image that the reputation at the place had, you're like, what is going on behind those walls? We always thought it was closed. You know, all the garage doors were closed, and normally, which if you did see somebody, they would pull in, you know, get out, open the garage door, go in, close the garage door, and that's the last you seen them. And we always said, well, they must be very tired and weary travelers.
You would see, more times than I care to mention, very nice, expensive European cars with older men and younger women pulling in there and then taking off a few hours later.
2 women in there. They could rent a room, but not 2 bed at a month. They couldn't rent a room.
There was one particular maid that usually ran out, when you would come out, she would ask you how long you were staying, if you were local or not, and then they would go send somebody to open the garage door for you. I mean, I think that's kind of why it was known for the local trade, because if you were there for the motel type situation, that, you didn't even have to get out of your car. You paid her, they opened the garage door, you never got out of your car until you were in your room,
long time or short time. It was always, you pull in the back and the maid would come out and with a little card and tell you, you're going to be here a long time or short time. He said, it's a short time. That's usually a couple hours. And that was like $15 for a couple hours. And she said, all right, go turn left here and come around, pull over here and pull right in unit 52. And she'd go up, walk up there and have the garage door open and you pull in and
they wouldn't even give you a key, figuring you're not going anywhere, right?
There's always the rumors about the mafia and it was just so neat the way the garage doors, you'd go in there and have your privacy, It was just an awesome place.
That's what he always thought mafia was there.
Well, they're rampant. They're legendary, the stories of the Coral Court. But they had nothing to do with the summertime clientele. During the summer, it was a tourist motel for families.
But it wasn't really just Coral Courts. All the motels right there had the hourly rates, and the garages across the street. They had the wayside, they had the garages and the hourly rates. It wasn't just Coral Courts. It just got the reputation maybe because it was the first one and the neatest one, the nicest one.
The only time that I was ever interviewed for the New York Times was about the Coral Court. And they asked me if there was enough sin in the Midwest to support a hot sheet motel. And I said that yes, that, St. Louis is one of these cities that on the outside, it looks very dull. But actually, there's all sorts of things going on under the surface.
I'd always heard that there was a secret tunnel that went underneath the motel to the restaurant across the street. And I never did find out about it or anything. It was just always something I'd heard about,
Intriguing.
And we'd always heard that there'd been some people that went to the restaurant that were of dubious nature or whatever. And it just always fascinated me. I could just actually see mobsters enjoying the motel and then going across underneath the restaurant and having their secret meeting or whatever, which probably more imagination than anything else, but you gotta have your imagination.
Many of the rumors were only works of the imagination, but some of them were true. The proof lay just beneath the surface. Literally.
I was helping a friend work on their pool out back, and we discovered a little iron gate, but it was very well hidden. It appeared more as a drainage ditch than as it did a entrance or exit way, which was made of granite stones, about a foot by 8 inches thick, in a half-moon configuration, like the entrance to an igloo, let's say. About 4 feet tall. Good engineering. Very solid. And we discovered that those tunnels led all the way back to the units. So we made it up and we found 2 rooms that we entered. In the rooms we entered, the entrances were in the backs of the closet. That's where we came out. Well, they said back in the day those were used for your special type meetings, influential people who had mistresses, that way they could duck out. The tunnels did come out about 50 to 60 feet past the pool on where the hillside went down between the old Coral Courts and the monastery.
To design a motel with an underground network of secret tunnels approaches the unthinkable. And yet, that's exactly what John Carr did.
There are so many more stories about the hotel that you can discover in the full documentary. We invite you to watch it on our Who Else Loves History YouTube channel. The Coral Court stayed in business until 1993 and was torn down in 1995. Ultimately, the cause of its decline and its destruction mirrors the story of so many small towns and small businesses and dash big dreams along Route 66 that also died as its story came to an end too. Ironically, the cause of that end is just what brought the road about: our love affair with the car.
By 1956, there were more than 65 million cars on our roads, with 90 million forecast by 1975. Clearly, it was a time for national action. Congress responded with the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, providing the staggering sum of $51 billion to be spent by the states on highway construction by 1971. The most talked about phase of the act is the interstate highway system. a 41,000-mile network of our most important roads. Most of these roads...
In principle, the answer had been around since the utopianism of the late 30s. When the superhighways finally did arrive, they didn't please everyone.
Now, at this point, we propose leaving present Route 110 and bypassing the town of Connersville. There will be easy, convenient access to and from the new highway with adequate signs.
I think Mr. Jacobson is forgetting there's lots of us in this town who make our living from people driving down Main Street, seeing our signs and stopping. What we need is more people driving down Main Street, not less. If you don't have traffic, you don't have business.
As I said before, the state believes the bypass around Connersville is in the best interest of the most people.
Coming of the interstate highways started in the mid-50s. The slow death, if you will, of Route 66 began. And through the decades, the years it took to finish decommissioning and taking down the signs and building this new super slab and so forth, little by little, they choked the life out of a lot of towns as they were bypassed. And at first, people thought this was great. I mean, I remember this. It was progress. Because 66 had become crowded and dangerous. And it was, you know, as I like to say, our love affair with the internal combustion engine continued, you know, and we had all these cars and more people. The highway couldn't handle all that traffic. You know? We called it progress. And we watched as whole towns, some instances whole states, if you will, really, whole sections were just cut off. You know, bam.
The interstates were unstoppable.
And the president who established the Federal Interstate Highway System? Well, that was Dwight David Eisenhower, who had been a lieutenant colonel when he traveled as part of the 1919 military convoy. Today, Watson Road and former Route 66 run into Interstate 44 to continue the journey west toward California. Along that route are many more wonderful small towns and roadside attractions. Some still open, some not. A couple of them you'll find just over an hour west of here, off I-44 near Cuba, Missouri. And that's how we'll end this episode, with a quick trip west out 44. We'll start with a quick look at a roadside attraction that you can still see if you get off the main drag and take the historic bypass. And then an homage to a roadside attraction that represents the best of all the people and all the places you would have seen in the heyday of Route 66. Thank you for watching.
Take a trip down I-44, about an hour west of St. Louis, and you'll see some interesting signs as you come to Fanning, Missouri. They're not entirely accurate anymore, because what once was the world's largest rocking chair is now the world's second largest rocking chair. But it's still the largest rocking chair on Route 66. The brainchild of Danny Sanazzaro, who wanted to entice customers to his archery and feed store, the chair debuted on April Fool's Day 2008, standing 42 feet 4 inches high on rockers each 31.5 feet long. Assembled out of steel pipe, the chair weighs 27,500 pounds. To be certified by Guinness as the world's largest rocking chair, the chair had to rock, which it did when first built. But the massive chair was so terrifying in motion, and Danny was so worried that tourists might flip it over and kill themselves, that he had the chair permanently welded to its base. A highlight of the chair's early years was its annual Picture on Rocker Day, the first Saturday in August, when Danny would hire a hoist truck to lift lucky tourists to the chair's 20-foot wide seat for once-in-a-lifetime photo ops. And what was once white in its largest rocking chair in the world days is now red, but still attracting visitors to the store.
Along historic Route 66, in the small river town of Cuba, Missouri, there once lived a man named Bob Mullen, the proud creator and curator of an amazing array of Americana, Bob's Gasoline Alley. For the history buffs, nostalgia lovers, and Route 66 fans fortunate enough to visit before it closed with Bob's passing in 2020, it was a place of undefinable magic. Thankfully, we were some of the fortunate, And as part of the 2026 100-year anniversary celebration of Route 66, we are excited to share that magic as we reach into the Who Else Loves History archives for this 2017 tour hosted by Bob himself. Producer Aaron Mermelstein takes us to one of the Mother Road's greatest roadside attractions.
It's right there off I-44 at Cuba. Bob's Gasoline Alley. Gas station signs, lots of them. It's the kind of place you see and wonder, what is that place? And when you stop, by appointment only please, you see exactly what you thought you saw from the highway. Gas station signs, all kinds. Pumps from gas stations long ago and far away. This one says 15 cents a gallon. I'm guessing it stopped pumping in about 1960 or so. Signs, everywhere are signs. I won't even get into the little donkeys or the emus or all of those other birds. What is this place? Then you'll see Bob himself. You ask him, what is this place? And he can't answer the question.
You want to go inside? I'll be glad to show you around here.
Well, tell me what the difference is between I've never been inside.
Let's go inside. I can't tell you.
Okay.
You can ask the questions later, but in the meantime, I'll show you around.
Which part are you prouder of, the outside or the inside?
I can't answer that. We'll look, and then you can. You'd be better off to ask me the questions after you look.
Okay.
Because you'll have some questions, I'm sure.
Okay.
And,
go on in. Just inside the door, you think, oh my God, he's right. Have I got questions? What is this place?
Some people think it's a diner. Some people think it's a store. Some people think we're open every day.
What do you tell them it is?
I don't have an answer for them.
Okay, if Bob can't explain it, I'll try at least. Bob's Gasoline Alley is Bob's Gasoline Alley. It is what it is, whatever that is, and there's nothing else like it around here. Some people have collections of stuff in their homes. Bob has his home in the middle of his collection. There's the gas station stuff, of course, lots of gas station stuff, but also neon clocks, advertising thermometers, lots and lots of thermometers, Coca-Cola stuff, mannequins in uniforms, Route 66 stuff, all American stuff, Americana stuff, advertising stuff, and Elvis, of course. What would any of this be without an Elvis? Too much to look at, too much to comprehend. Any one of these things, somebody would take a trip and say, look, this is the find of the year.
Yeah.
But you must just have finds of the year every time, yeah? Describe that to me.
Well, it's not like it used to be. I mean, a lot of this stuff's kind of dried up, and some of it's way more than I want to invest in it.
Yeah.
And...
It's dried up because you've bought it all.
No. Come on, we'll go upstairs.
Upstairs?
Watch your step. It'll be a little warmer up here, guys.
And you think your attic is full? Shelves of die-cast cars. Congratulations, Cuba High School class of 1935. More signs, complete with bullet holes. Mannequins. Pop culture stuff. Everything is beautifully displayed. To say Bob's Gasoline Alley is overwhelming is an unfair understatement. My little camera can't capture the overall sense of the place.
That's because this doesn't make any sense. If it just strikes me, then that's what I like, you know.
It's beautiful. It's weird. Yeah. I mean, you'll admit that it's just a big collection, yeah?
Yeah. Watch your step.
The tour continues. Outside, onto the porch, more signs, more gas pumps, soda machine, and then the tour continues again. Now you've got all these tables and you've got the cafe in there, but you're not serving food, right?
No food. No food. Just look.
It just keeps going.
The counter there
with the mannequins
came out
with
of
with the help.
Right. Came out of the Rainbow Motel in Stillville, which has been torn down now for several years. That hung in a feed store in Bourbon, the next town 10 miles east.
You are the local history museum. Just when you think you've seen it all, you ain't seen nothing yet.
We're headed to the barn.
There's more in the barn?
The barn.
Do they call you a collector? Do they call you a hoarder? Do they call you a pack rat? What do they call you?
Just a little bit of everything.
Yep, there's an upstairs here too.
I feel like we're in the other building, and we never left the other building.
Turn the lights on. You come on up and I'll turn the lights on.
Oh my, oh my. I think we're done. Can't shoot anymore.
I mean, we're overdone, buddy.
Amazingly, Bob's Gasoline Alley is not Bob's life. He's got one, a real one.
My wife and I have a furniture store in Cuba there. We sell new and used furniture, have a used car lot there. We sell tractors, utility trailers. I've been in sales all my life.
If Bob can't answer the what is this place question, neither can I, other than to say it's Bob's.
Some guys like to go fishing, some guys like to go hunting. I like to go hunting, but it's for an old rusty sign.
And it's a road trip thing.